The Wednesday week. 5 friends, 1 football club. And about 6 jokes they just repeat over and over and over and over and over.
Hello and welcome to the Wednesday week, the Sheffield Wednesday fans podcast. I'm James. We are brought to you by our lovely friends at the Riverside Cafe. Speaking of lovely friends, look who that is there. It's Victoria. Hello.
Oh, that's nice. You sound a little bit bunged up. You all right? Have you had a snooze?
I was asleep until 10 minutes ago. So I apologise. This is like what, James Marriott first thing in the morning sounds like, as you know from our many beautiful mornings that we've had together.
Don't, because this is ruining my Tinder game, James. I've got a bone to pick with you. The amount of people that have now asked me if like it's awkward being on a podcast with you because obviously we used to go out with each other. Come on, like you're ruining my life. Stop it. And then telling people that we wake up next to each other. I mean, sometimes
it was only for a week.
It was. In that time you wore a bikini. Shit got weird. Weird.
We went through a lot of emotions in the space of 7 days, didn't we? Someone I've definitely not seen first thing in the morning, not for a long time anyway, is Eddie. How are you doing?
Yeah, I miss those days. I don't know what went wrong between us. In the morning, you were always very, very bright and breezy. And maybe the fact that we don't do that anymore has changed you. But I still feel that I've got something to offer. So if you want to have a sleepover, always around at Sausage Arms on the Twitter. Hi, evening.
I feel like I'm not going to tweet you to see if you want to get naked together or something. That would be strange.
Oh, right. Oh, too big for that now.
DMs.
All right, fair enough.
Right, we've got plenty to talk about in this week's podcast because we've been away for a little while. So let's jump in. Let's talk about some football. Let's talk about the Rotherham game, which was a very weird game. It feels like it was, for a game that was relatively kind of boring, there's a lot for us to talk about because plenty happened. So,
it's still so funny though, isn't it? I still have a good chuckle at it. My poor friend Will thought he was so funny up until the 100 and whatever minute. Oh.
It was literally 100 minutes, wasn't it? Was it like a week or a couple of weeks before that Leeds did exactly the same thing where they equalised in the 100th minute? Yeah. And you're thinking, there's only Leeds, isn't there? There's only Leeds in that league that would do it, and then we go and do it. But let's kind of rewind a little bit to start with, and let's think about team selection. So Eddie, what was your reaction at ridiculous o'clock in the morning when the teams were announced due to the lunchtime kickoff?
In all seriousness, I'd completely forgotten that it was such an early kickoff. And so I was still doing the kind of Saturday morning, taking my son to his football training, going into town, doing my errands and all this sort of stuff. Got back and I thought, I'll just check the old social media, see what's going on.
You sound like a 60-year-old woman.
I know, but that's now what my Saturday mornings are. I've got jobs to do. I've got to try and bring the next generation of Wednesday fans through, and that involves them playing football. And then I have to fit in trips to butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers. So I was doing all of that sort of business. Got back, and it was basically already kickoff by the time this was happening. So I was like, oh wow, right, okay, now it's time to go. So it was a quick. Get the old iFollow going because obviously I don't live in England. I am in a different geographical region and therefore don't use a VPN to watch
skiing.
iFollow. Nobody would do that. I think we probably picked again our form team, didn't we? There was no reason for us to change things massively. We picked the best team for an away game, albeit a derby. And so there were no surprises there as far as I was concerned.
It was a lot more balanced, wasn't it? Because we got rid of, that kind of attempt to play Pellier-Pessi in the team in the Millwall game and Bannon playing wide, which just didn't really work, and kind of switching it back so it was a more sort of balanced lineup. It kind of made sense. You've got a couple of players that were clearly kind of wide players. Vic, your thoughts on the setup as kind of the game was kicking off and as it was unfolding?
Yeah, I mean, I was reasonably happy with it. Like I'd said, I mean, it looked like a good informed side. I wasn't surprised about any of it, to be honest. I know a lot of people are calling for the new boys to come straight in and whatever else, but
no,
I kind of like the fact that Bruce isn't just, like making his mark in that way so far. These guys, yeah, all right, they've had a pretty shit season, let's be honest, but there's also been key reasons for that, and I think it fine. Whatever. Choose who you want.
We've been there before, haven't we? If we think back to the kind of the pre Dave Jones era, we used to do this all the time, didn't we? Which was things weren't going well. We'll get some players on loan. They're straight in the side, and the expectation is they're gonna drag us kicking and screaming to 3 points. It is quite refreshing, Vic, isn't it? That we've got these guys who are Premier League pedigree, albeit not regularly playing, and they're there to fulfill a job. They're not there as a kind of like golden boys to come in and you guys are all rubbish. We've got these lads in who are going to make you look better. We're so far past that. They're all role players, and there are things that they'll be great at, and there's things that they are probably not ready for. So I think it would have been madness to throw 2 or 3 of these new players into an away game in a derby atmosphere so soon after they've arrived.
Is it a derby? Oh, I don't want to get bitter here, but is it a derby atmosphere with 12 fans? Is it? I mean, I've had more people round for dinner. It's just derby atmosphere. It's fucking Rotherham. It's one road away, and it's one road in and one road out, and that says a lot about a place. I'm sorry. Derby, I get it that it's nearby, but for me, it's not a derby at all.
It is so ridiculously close to us. Of course, it's a derby. I think it's. I've always thought it's stupid
not
when
in
people
that.
are like, it's not. It's like we've got kind of big man syndrome here, where we're like, oh, we're just so not bothered about it. We're just not bothered about it.
But we're
so
literally
not bothered about
not.
it that whenever anyone says it's a derby, we've got to be like, no, but we're not bothered about it. They're bothered about it, but we're not bothered
Their
about it.
Primark is the same size as my local Tesco Metro. Like, Rotherham is shit. I'm sorry. No. All that Rotherham is good for, right, is my friend owns a brilliant salon there. If anyone ever needs a beauty salon, let me know. And there's a place that you can go and try on wedding dresses and not buy them. That's the only reason that anybody goes to Rotherham. I'm sorry. No, boom, done.
Well, I'm sure property values in Rotherham have just dropped 10% in the course of that little rant.
Yeah. A damning
But wait to these shares have gone through the roof.
They, you know what? When Wednesday fans as a whole, they may regard it as a step below. It's the same as when we play Barnsley. It's the same as when we play Donny. It's the same as when we play Chesterfield, as if we'll ever play them again. But to Wednesday fans who live in, even on that side of Sheffield, let alone across the Tinsley Viaduct, it means something. And to the Rotherham fans, it is their cup final. It always has been. It always will be. So the atmosphere was always going to be like that. And you know what? I think Wednesday fans have gone, oh, it's pretty mad how we always get these games against Rotherham. The fact that it is a derby and that it means so much to the home fans, it must have an impact, because that game was as absolutely knockdown, drag-out madcap as any game that we've had against Rotherham, and I include the last time that we were down there with the 3-2 and Kieran Lee and blah blah blah. Why does it keep happening here if not elsewhere? Why do we not do this on a Tuesday night at Ipswich?
It was a crazy ass game, wasn't it? And it's like you sort of to try and reflect on it, it's really hard, because I think back to that first half, and in my head I thought first half it was kind of men against boys, we looked really good. We were playing some really nice football, and I remember standing there thinking, this lot, it will be a miracle if they stay in the league, because they just don't have any quality. And I think we kind of saw what they have got, which is a bit of fighting spirit, and that they have got a real kind of team spirit about them. But to take that one step at a time, I mean, Eddie, would you agree with that? That we were really on top first half when we went 1-0 up. That should have been, kind of the start of us really taking a foothold in that game, and the fact that we actually went in at half time at 1-1 was a bit of a travesty.
The interesting thing was, for the first half an hour, I was obviously watching the game, but keeping up with what the Wednesday fans were saying on Twitter, etc. And don't get me wrong, Rotherham were getting into really attacking positions. They were giving themselves chances, and a much better team would have caused us many more problems. But the difference in class was literally night and day for that first half. For the first half an hour, it was crazy. And so there was no surprise when we got on the score sheet. And a little bit of luck in the sense that there was a mix-up between the two Rotherham defenders. Adam Reach, got onto the ball, managed to drag it past that last defender, which gave him a really, really easy cutback. And Fessy doesn't miss those, and that's absolutely fantastic. 1-0 felt exactly how it should have been, given that we were showing quite a bit of quality, but we have the same problems going forward in that we don't have that killer instinct at the moment. So, 1-0 felt absolutely perfect. Literally within 30 seconds, that was absolutely ripped to pieces, because we got another example of Wednesday's defending that usually happens in the first couple of minutes of the second half. They were obviously thinking, let's get this out of the way before the second half starts, and we got another missed assignment, no marking, a first-time finish that Kieran Westwood, you can't fault him for it. There's no way that he should be getting to that ball, because there's a guy getting a free volley at 10 yards out. So, yes, it felt like a travesty, but you know what? It felt like typical Wednesday. The fact that it was the 39th minute as opposed to the 46th minute probably doesn't change anything. It was the usual. I think our squad and our team feels like we've worked really hard. We've got our just rewards. Let's switch off for a minute. And we just get hammered every time. And it's Steve Bruce should be the sort of manager, the sort of coach to beat that out of a team, because it's unforgivable to get the advantage through a lot of hard work and then to throw it away within a minute.
Yeah, it is very, very Wednesday, isn't it? I'm not a fan of kind of singling out particular players for giving them stick or anything like that, but I feel like. And I feel that if he was sat here now, he'd be fine with us doing this, because he's a guy that will hold his hands up when he has a bad game, and he's definitely got a mistake in it. We've seen it 2 or 3 times. I thought that Saturday was the first time that we saw a player of obvious class like Michael Hector, who just had a nightmare, pretty much beginning to end. He seemed to just lose the ability to do the real simple things that a footballer can do. A bit like we all have those days at work where it just doesn't matter what key you press on your keyboard; it's just everything goes wrong. And that was his day on Saturday. That's not to say the first goal was entirely his fault, but if you're going to pinpoint anyone, I think that it probably would be Hector. No doubt, second goal that Hector was just he just had to leave of his senses, didn't he? And that's the situation that we end up in. Vic, I mean, across the park, there wasn't anyone that looked particularly amazing. There were a few people that didn't have fantastic games, and Hector's obviously the prime example of that. Who did you kind of pick up on as kind of playing well or otherwise?
I mean, like you said, there wasn't really anybody, was there? I think Sammy did a great job, as he usually does. I think he's your reliable man, isn't he? As long as he's not got his glass knees on, he's there and he's good to go. But yeah, Hector, I feel like when my mum found out that I smoked when I was about 15, and you say, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. And that's how I was. I wasn't angry at him. And I tweeted just saying it shows how everything goes to shit when Hector's gone shit. And I got so much abuse. And I was like, I'm not abusing Hector. I'm actually pointing out that he is like the spine of our team. He is our backbone. If he has a poor game, we go to shit. And that both worries me and encourages me if we did sign him, in the fact that, you know, you can build a team around him. But yeah, I would... Sammy did all right. I don't think Palmer had a particularly bad game. I think he did okay.
He was good.
Other than that, I think forwards were poor. I think Fessy was... any game now, I think, you know, when you have a player like Fernando, you're always going to get... He's just going to be out there, isn't he? People are just going to be there to either break his legs or get him sent off. And hey-ho, look what happened. Although it was one of our own fans. But there was nobody, was there, that just stood out. There was nobody that even came on and looked amazing. There was nothing really about it. It was a very average game, really. The only bonus being that it was a derby. Other than that, yeah. I'd say Sammy and I'd say Palmer. I think Palmer's had a bad rap for a long time. And Thornley did all right. He had a couple of mistakes in him as well, but it's one of those games, isn't it?
Until he legitimately, he was dead in a coma. The Grim Reaper had come for him.
That was awful. I hate that.
Oh my!
I hate seeing people knocked out. I must spend £200-300 a year watching boxing on Box Office, and I still hate watching people get knocked out. I just can't deal with it. It's just awful. It went through me.
Very scary moment, and obviously it's ironic that scary moment probably contributed massively to the amount of injury time that we then needed. I think you're absolutely right, Vic, that was the definition of an average performance. So I think with those sort of performances, you've got to look at where players are trending. So we look at the last few games and the key impact players. Your Barry Bannons, your Adam Reaches had been trending down. Their performances have been under par. I think one of the most encouraging things was that both of them had upwards trending performances. I think. If we're going to pick players who had, man of the match candidates, etc., I actually think the two fullbacks. I think Morgan Fox had another really, really solid game, and his performances have been amongst the most consistent and amongst the best that we've seen over the last 6 games, and that should be recognised. I think Liam Palmer had a really good game. It's really easy to point at Michael Hector and say he had comfortably his worst game in a Wednesday shirt, but when you have that job to do, when you are almost carrying that defence on your shoulders, and we're really guilty of it as Wednesday fans, because we kind of have these iconic players who we kind of gravitate towards. You think about when Emerson Tome came in, he became Paolo Maldini in his prime. We had Majid Bagheera, and he was this incredible box to box defender who did everything. Michael Hector had kind of inspired that confidence in the Wednesday fans. So when he has one bad game, everyone goes, Hector's been shit today. Actually, he wasn't, but he takes responsibility for that defence. And he was trying to do the right thing and cover for players that probably were out of position. And on other days, he would have looked like the hero. On Saturday, he kind of looked like the villain. And so I don't think it's reflecting that he is dropping off as a player, or that his performances are dropping off. He'll be back. He's probably the one that's kicking his own arse about that more than anything, because even though he was there to try and do the job, he didn't execute the way that he wanted to. But overall, the back five, even though we conceded 2 goals, I think we're still very, very solid there. And if we've got questions, those questions need to be, what do we do to reliably create and put away chances?
Yeah, I think fair points. And as I kind of said at the beginning of it, I think that Michael Hector will be the first to put his hand up and say, "Yeah, wasn't good." He literally did it on Twitter, didn't he? Where he was very quick to say that he wasn't good enough, and I don't think we kind of need to feel particularly bad for saying that, because I don't think he takes these things too personally. I kind of want to just gloss over a lot of the second half, because a lot of it was a bit shit. So we're gonna skip through lots and lots of stuff. We're gonna go right the way through to kind of 99 minutes and a few seconds, and what ensued from there on. Which I must admit, from the stands, it was all a bit chaotic, and I don't remember a lot. It went a bit crazy. What was it? I've actually not even watched it back, to be honest, so I can't tell you much about the goal other than the fact it was right bang in front of us, and it seemed like a proper kind of good old-fashioned goalmouth scramble, and somehow Iofa, which was maybe his third touch of the ball in a Wednesday shirt, just belts it into the back of the net, something like that. What was it, Vic? Is that how you kind of saw it?
It kind of looked like it hit him. Do you remember that goal that I think it was it Steve McLean scored it? Was it Chesterfield away when we're in that shitty greeny grey strip, Napoleon strip? And it just kind of hit him and went in. And honestly, a lot went up in my front room, obviously listening to it on the radio, and it was just, it was a proper goalmouth scramble. Needed to go in, was always going to go in. If it had been any other team, we'd been watching it on Super Sunday, because that's always going to go in. That every time. That is a classic 100th minute goal or whatever. The fact that it's Wednesday kind of dampens your odds a bit with that, doesn't it? But it went in, and cup of tea went everywhere. Honestly, I was eating a flake at the time, choked on that. It was just wild scenes on a Saturday.
Choking on your flake. This is like Anthea Turner's wedding all over again. This is weird.
What?
But you might be too young. Eddie will be old enough to remember Anthea Turner's wedding and the old snowflake incident.
I remember, she sold her wedding, the photographs for her wedding, for like £1 million, and all her wedding photos, the happiest day of her life, let's not forget. Was her basically munching on some like Cadbury's chocolate, wasn't it? Ridiculous.
I used to love a snowflake. They were beautiful. Oh, yeah, they were. Snowflakes.
It was white chocolate on the inside and then milk chocolate on the outside.
Yes, the wibbly bit was white and the outside was milk chocolate. Oh, they were to die for.
Why did they never catch on? It was. Do you know what? Anthea Turner actually ruined that chocolate bar because
of Anthea Turner.
Yeah, it was all Anthea Turner.
And they were better than a normal flake, because a normal flake like that one I had the other day, it just gets everywhere. It's not a clean, easy chocolate bar to eat. It's just crumbly as flaky as chocolate, isn't it? But the snowflake had the outer coating that just kept everything compact. And it was a bit like Kinder chocolate. You get a Kinder egg and it's the mixture of white. Oh,
look, Anthea Turner got paid £1 million for this. You are doing this for free. You are literally...
How do you know? How do you know that I'm doing this for free? Right? How do you know that I'm doing this for free? Maybe right now I am eating my snowflake whilst snorting some Cadbury's Astros and laying in a bath of Maltesers, right? Maybe. And maybe I'm going to have a drink at the Riverside Cafe. I'm just saying, maybe I'll take sponsorship on board.
I would eat a snowflake and drink a pint of finest beer at the Riverside Cafe anytime. I wouldn't need £1 million for that. I'd pay £1 million to do it because it's such a great experience. But to drag this entire question back to what the hell happened in 99.9 minutes of the game, for those that were there, I don't think anybody saw it because it was just an absolute mental clusterfuck of every emotion going on. People jumping up and down, kind of getting involved with it. For those of us watching on TV, they did the kind of, right, we need to do the Channel 5 bit of show the goal and then randomly zoom off to see Steve Bruce's reaction and then randomly zoom off to the centre circle and get refocused for the kickoff. So you didn't see anything at all until about a minute later, by which point all the Wednesday team were walking back to the centre circle, and Fessy
Nando
was emerging from the away end with a guy attached to him, right? And Rob O'Neill and John Pearson, who had obviously, they were waxing lyrical about what an amazing finish it was, and well should they. Their first reaction was that Fessy was getting attacked by a fan, presumably a Rotherham fan, in the same sense of of Leeds fans getting onto the pitch and attacking Wednesday players. And it became quite apparent after that Fessy had basically dragged the guy out of the crowd to celebrate with and was trying to give him a high five. But you didn't see any of that on the highlights. So I don't think anyone who was there got an accurate view of what was going on. And nobody who was watching it on iFollow or on the highlights later got anything else. So the referee is probably the only person who had a full and comprehensive view of what happened, and he decided that over celebrating is a yellow card, and that was Fessy's second yellow, and therefore it's a red. I don't know whether I agree with it, but I can understand. By the letter of the law, I can understand the thought.
Bollocks, can you understand? Right, somebody tweeted page 8 of like the shitty referee rule handbook.
Rules.
I'm sorry, but you broke the referee rules.
I will be judging this game. I have studied the referee rules.
Anyway, God, 2 gin cocktails and I am done. So anyway, somebody, Calvin Harris is on a Brit Award. He is good. Somebody tweeted like page 8 of the referee rules, and it says basically if you remove your shirt above your head, like whatevs, like stop ruining it for the girls that go. We've got washing up to do at home. And 2, if you go into the crowd, right? He didn't go into the crowd. The crowd came like onto the pitch. That is not a sending off. I'm sorry, it's not even a booking. It's not even a Fernando. That's a very naughty boy. It's nothing. So no, absolutely not. Not happy with that at all. And I think that shows by the reaction that has come from Sky Sports since, by the reaction that's come from BT Sports since, and then obviously it happened in this, was it Celtic game the other day? And people have started kicking off now. He did actually run into the crowd, to be fair, but still ridiculous sending off. But people have argued against it, and the FA has come out and said, "Oh, actually, no, just the 1 match ban, like to try and shut us up. We should. I want to start a picket line. I want to. I'm not happy. 1 match, it's still not good enough. But at least that does mean, James, just to link into your next bit, Nando's going to start his first ever Sheffield derby.
Yeah, it does actually. Yeah, I'm kind of tracked it through that far ahead, but yeah, I mean, I guess even if it was a 2-match ban, it'd still be all right for the derby. In actual fact, the fact that it is only a 1-match ban means there's still a game where he can get himself sent off to not play in the Sheffield derby. So don't
there is that, or break his ankle like he does at Christmas.
Yeah. Sorry, I wasn't following all that. I was watching a video of Anthea Turner getting a hair set on fire during an episode of Blue Peter. It was great fun.
I swear to God.
Yeah, I mean, look, all right. So it was the Nando thing is weird. So he initially celebrated. So I was to the right of the goal. So if you're looking at the goal, I was on the left. So to the right of the goal as we were in the stand. So Fessy celebrated in front of us. Not terribly dissimilar to his celebration at Forest a few years ago, where he didn't get into the crowd, but he celebrated with some of the crowd. And then, we continue celebrating. He's gone. The next thing you look over, and he's kind of celebrating on the other side of the net with the fans that are on the left-hand side. And I see the referee. So the referee points to where we are and then points to the other side of the net where he was, and kind of indicated that he thought that he'd celebrated with 2 different sets of fans, and that was what he was annoyed about, was that it was stopping the restart of the game or something. And I get the wording of the rules and all this kind of stuff about over celebration and whatever. Right. Here's the thing that that just bemuses me about the whole thing is that when all this dies down and calms down, what happens is that we eventually end up back at the centre circle. Rotherham take the kick-off, and less than a second after they kick the ball, the game ends. It's full time. So it's not like we've caused a great kind of delay or anything like that. It was the last kick of the game. So I don't understand what it particularly matters that it delayed the restart of the game or anything like that. It's like that was it. The last kick of the game was the ball going in the back of the net. What we could have celebrated for half an hour. What would it matter? It was the last kick of the game. It just seems like the most petty, stupid, pathetic thing. But the referee was terrible, wasn't he? And I don't, did you see that any different, Eddie? The referee was just terrible.
No, he was absolutely awful in virtually every respect. Look, any Wednesday fan who has been on any social media since Saturday has seen video evidence of how awful the referee was, because he literally refused to penalise some of the worst challenges that I've ever seen on a football pitch. He was absolutely terrible. I don't know whether I'm now officially an old curmudgeonly man, but I don't see why Fessy needed to celebrate with two different parts of the Wednesday crowd. I know he bloody loves it, and I probably would do the same thing, but I think you can absolutely expect to get booked for having a 2-minute long celebration in any circumstance that isn't, Aguero scoring for Man City to win the title in the 92nd minute or whatever it was. Even Aguero didn't celebrate that long for his goal. So I can understand it. I don't think there should be a booking necessarily for being a bit of a dick. But if I'm honest, I think Fessy was being a little bit giddy there. And I think you could probably say he was being a bit of a dick. And so even if the rules don't state that he should be booked for being a bit of a dick, I can understand why the referee would do that. In every other respect, that referee was absolutely terrible and got nothing right the entire game.
Okay, fair. I reckon we put the Rotherham game to bed now, and let's move on actually to something that this is definitely not new news, but because it's the first episode we've done for a couple of weeks, so it's not something we've really had a chance to reflect too much on, and that is the departure of Katrien as chief executive of Sheffield Wednesday. Vic, you mentioned 1 or 2 times on the podcast that you kind of loved her. So
I do.
What's your reaction?
I was shocked. I was shocked mainly. I'd never even heard a whisper that this might be happening. Obviously, Steve Bruce coming in may have affected that. The fact that I've Googled him since and he got rid of the physio because women have no place in football hasn't really filled me with confidence. But not going to complain too much because I've got to fill the dishwasher. But it hurt, to be honest, because I don't see that she's ever done anything wrong here. I feel like she has been victimised no matter where she's been. There was some bloke on Twitter, the amount of replies to that tweet saying, oh, what a shame, she'd done really well for the club, was probably 5 out of 100. The amount saying, that's a shame because I'd fuck her up the arse, was probably 95 out of 100. And I think it just infuriated me. I've spoken to her. She's fine. She's sad to be leaving. She's, so we're going to go cocktails. It's going to be fine. We're going to go bitch about whatever together. I don't think she ever did anything wrong for this club. I genuinely think she was a breath of fresh air on the commercial side. I think her hands were tied with a lot of things. And we've commented before when we talked about the infamous steering group when the club was put for sale and now it's absolutely not for sale. It's a frustrating role to be in. I'd be interested to know the full story. Obviously, I wouldn't tell the full story if I did know it, if I do or not. But yeah, not great news for the club. I don't think. I think a bit of stability would do us good right now with the situation that we've been in, situation we're probably going to be in. I don't think having the same CEO who managed to sort out the FFP situation before would be a bad thing. But, it's not my football club, is it? I don't know. I'm just, perplexed by the whole situation.
I would be so upset if the reason that she is left is because of an incompatibility that has been decided by the incoming manager. And the manager is absolutely vital to the health and to the ethos of a football club. But I wouldn't want to support a football club where an incoming manager decides that he will not work with a chief executive because that chief executive is female. Now, there may be more to it than that, and I've got no idea. But all I know is that much more than not doing anything wrong, I think that Katrien has done an unbelievable job in keeping this ship very, very steady during what has been a very, very turbulent time. If we'd have had her during the days of, the High Court steps and the winding up orders and the battles over who owns and runs the club, I don't think we'd have known anything about it by comparison. I think we're in choppy waters as a club, and you need very, very good, high quality people. And it's obvious that she is preeminent, a very, very competent and valuable chief executive for a football club. And I think it's a tremendous loss. I really hope that we don't regret it. And if it comes out that there is any reason behind it other than the mutual need, mutual agreement that they would part ways and that Katrien is very happy with it, then I think we are a much poorer club for it. It was probably the most upset that I've been behind the scenes at Sheffield Wednesday, since maybe even before Milan Mandaric took over. I do feel really strongly about it, and it's I think we're a much poorer club now, and we'll see what happens. But I think it's been a dark day as far as our club's concerned, and I don't think that people have talked about it enough.
Do either of you want me to talk about the need for a plan at this stage, or shall we move on?
Do you know what I'd love to talk about, right? I have just bought a ticket for Derby away, literally, while you were just talking, Ed. And I've got points that I forgot I'd got, James. And do you know where they're from? They are from Wolves away. So have with that what you will. If you'd like to have a chat, that is fine.
Honestly, to answer your question, James, to answer your question, I never want to talk about Wolves away, if at all, unless we are talking about Wolves away and we're in the Premier League, and so are they. Is there a point to discussing our need for a plan now? Is that something that Wednesday fans should engage with and should listen to as part of another podcast, perhaps?
Well, we did talk about it on Al's About Stat, which came out on. We recorded it on Sunday. It came out on Monday.
All right, you can plug one.
And there's,
you can plug one.
But there is a serious point there, and actually, I guess we were trying to find some positives to it, and maybe actually the fact that maybe this is part of a wider restructuring whereby the owner is generally going to bring in someone as CEO that's going to have a wider remit, and maybe is going to bring in someone that is going to do the stuff that we need them to do, and seeing the bigger picture and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I mean, it's we're just gonna have to wait and see, aren't we? Because it does feel like it could be a real step backwards. But if it's a step backwards to go a couple of steps forwards, then maybe we'll look back upon this and see it as being a positive. It is kind of difficult to see it that way at the moment. I'm with you guys on that, but the timing of it came probably the right time to not cause a complete and utter meltdown among a big section of our fan base, because of the fact that Steve Bruce in now and this kind of more sort of adult feel that we've got around the club maybe makes us think that maybe this is just part of kind of a bigger thing that's at play right now, and we'll know better in the next kind of few weeks and months. Okay, guys, right, let's move on a bit. Let's talk youth. And Eddie, you've been following the under-23s this week, who registered a pretty important win.
In my absence.
Yeah. I'm not used to having my finger on the nub of youth, but this week I did, because obviously it was. I should probably rephrase that.
Leave it exactly
it was the derby,
as it is.
wasn't it? So it was the under-23 derby. So in the old days, for those of you who don't remember the 1980s as well as I do, we used to have a system called the reserves in a football club, and the reserves were a mixture of the up-and-coming young players and the lads who were professional, time served, but probably didn't get an awful lot of time on the pitch. The under-23s is the worst misnomer in modern football, because what it basically is the exact same thing as reserve. Just throw some players who aren't getting a game in the first 11 in amongst some of your academy lads, and everything's great. And so we went to Bramall Lane. We beat the other side of the city 2-0, which was great, and that's absolutely fantastic. If I was a Sheffield United fan, and God thank everything that I'm not, I would say, well, of course you're going to beat us because you put out a really strong team. And we did. We put out a really, really promising team, a mix of the best of our players.
Did we play Alman Abdi?
Alman was playing in goal for the first half, and then he was manager for the second half. And made. Did
he have a little nap with James afterwards?
No, look, long story short, we turned up ready to play. We played a really strong team with, we talked about the loan signings, etc., etc. Rolando Aarons looked a class above, and we dominated play. We dominated the scoreline. We walked away with a 2-0 win. Does that mean anything for the upcoming derby? Of course it does. If the under-23s win 2-0, the first team will win 6-0. We all know that that's the way.
12-0. We're gonna win 12-0.
12-0. So yeah, but you know what? A really pleasing performance, and it was great to see that in the step up of getting. We talk about Rolando Aarons playing in that game. There are players of real quality playing in that, because it's a keenly contested derby, even at reserve level. The fact is that we had members of our academy setup stepping up, playing really well, scoring goals. It bodes well because the quality is obviously there. So, it's a bit of bragging rights, but take that away, and it's actually a really good signpost for the next 6 months and to the end of the season. And, let's see what happens if any of those players can break through.
Yeah, fair point. Also well done to the under-18s. They won 6-0 against. They won 6-0 against Crewe. I'm sure the under-18s beat Crewe like every other week. I'm sure they're always beating Crewe like 4-0, 5-0, 6-0 or something.
Crewe
like that.
a lot, don't they?
It's not my imagination.
It's like the old. No, it's like the Anglo-Italian Cup of the 90s. I think we're in a 3-team group, and it's Wednesday, Crewe, and Barnsley, and we just rotate the entire time. I think our record against Crewe this year.
Did Luke Bowden score? Did Luke Bowden get a hat-trick?
But so he played in goal for the first half, and then in the second half he was manager. So well done, Bod.
Hashtag in jokes. Hashtag should have been listening 3 years ago.
Right, Vic. Tell us about young Shay, if you would.
Oh, yes. Just bear with me 1 second because I don't want to get any names wrong. Okay, so a little boy called Shay, who is the son of my friend Jason, who is the best mate of my cousin Scott. He is walking to Hillsborough for the Derby match. So he's going to walk from Bluebell Wood to raise money for Bluebell Wood, obviously. And he's going to walk to Hillsborough. It's about 16 miles in total. It's not the first time Shay's done something like this. He's done quite a lot in the past to raise money for Bluebell Wood. Because his cousin is in Bluebell Wood. She has a rare chromosome disorder where she needs like around-the-clock care. And that's where she goes for her care. So at the moment, like Shay set his target at £400, and that was quite a while ago now. But it's now up to like nearly £2,000. But he's super close to his cousin. It's so sweet, and he really is a nice lad. Like, he's a lovely lad. There's Shay, and then he's got a sister. I can't remember his sister's name. I'm so sorry. And his dad Jason. I made his sister a mascot years and years and years ago when I worked at the club, James, just in case you didn't know. But they are just such a lovely family, and Shay has done so much to raise money for Bluebell Wood. So please get your hands in your pockets. It's via, you can look on it via the news pages on the website. It's just, it's up there, and it's called Shay's Big Day. You can find it on there and just sponsor him, even if it's £1 or whatever. This little lad, 60 miles is a long bloody way. Sometimes I walk home from work and I feel like I've climbed Everest, and it's 4 miles downhill. So someone sponsor him. But yeah, God bless you, Shay, and good luck with your little walk.
Yeah,
well, big walk, huge walk.
Absolutely. And yeah, fantastic, and the best of luck to Shay. Vic, did you used to work at the club? I mean, you should mention that more often. I didn't realise.
I did. I might not mention it again.
Okay. Eddie, you've been finding out about another young fan who's been doing something special as well.
Yeah, in other Wednesday young fans being an absolute boss news, William Hunter, who's a 16-year-old player, Wednesday fan, but also a player for AFC Dromfield. The Dromfield! Yes! The Dromfield. The way he describes it was he just thought he'd organise a half-term kickabout for him and his mates, and then thought maybe I should do it for a good cause. So what's actually now happened is that he is the game is going to be played at Maltby Main Stadium. That's this Friday, so the 22nd of February.
Classic ground.
7 p.m. And he's managed to get Terry Curran, like actual Terry Curran, to manage one side in the game. And John Breakin, who those of you who used to listen to a lot of Radio Chef on Hallam FM in the 90s will remember, was like Rotherham United's iconic defender. He's going to manage the other side. And it's going to be basically a match between William's football mates, who are all pretty boss at football for 16-year-olds. And they've got a load of Wednesday-related stuff that's getting raffled off. So they've got shirts, match-worn shirts from Marco Matthias, boots from Barry Bannon, Gary Hooper, Sam Winnell, Sam Hutch, Poodle, the big dog Morgan Fox, Boyd, Thornley, Lucas Joao, Hector Westwood, Cameron Dawson. That's a lot of stuff.
Is there anything that contains Adam Reach's DNA?
Maybe Daniel Poodle's boot. Who knows what sort of pranks they get up to?
I mean,
in the training.
That's a letdown. That is a letdown.
So kick off 7 p.m. Entries £2 per person. Everything that they raise is going towards Macmillan Cancer Research. So Macmillan Cancer Support. Sorry. So yeah, that's brilliant. 16-year-old kid has basically got a kickabout together, and he's got, well, you know what? Get TC in. TC will manage us. That's no problem. And they've turned it into a bit of a thing. So if you are in the Maltby area, if you're a Wednesday fan especially, then head down there, because I only see a picture of him, but he looks like a sort of kid who's pretty sexy at football. So he's probably all over it. There might be some decent level of performance there, and he can snag some Wednesday-related swag. So well done, William. Brilliant. I wish I'd have done that when I was your age.
Snag some swag. I love that. That's brilliant. That's so street. That's the most street that you've ever been.
Literally ever.
Brilliant.
It's Mornings with James.
Right, we've got 2 games coming up to talk about. We have the visit of Swansea on Saturday. I always get annoyed when we play Swansea, just for the reason that there's still people now that they tweet with the SWFC hashtag thinking that it's Swansea. And I'm like, how is that? Like, it just doesn't... What? It annoys me. Right, so...
Do you still follow hashtags? Is this 2016? Like, no one clicks on a hashtag, do they?
What?
Unless
Sorry,
it's
Mrs.
like hashtag Corbyn.
Ms. I don't use TweetDeck. What?
No, I don't use TweetDeck. I use twitter.com.
Well,
no, I don't follow hashtag.
And sorry, is it 2013 using twitter.com?
I can't be doing with all the fancy stuff. I like twitter.com so I can just ignore it. Especially if I tweet something about like Katrien and everyone kicks off like, oh, fuck off back to the kitchen. I just turn it off. Like,
right, Swansea. So,
hashtags.
So, looks
Hashtag
like...
ignoring my hashtag problem.
Yeah. Is there a way I can just mute you in this conversation, or is that not? It doesn't work, does
Yeah, here we go.
Right. So, we definitely know Fessy, he's suspended. You would think after Saturday it's likely that Thornley's going to be out. Is this the game maybe that Tom Lees comes back in? Here's just a general question, right? Does anyone remember Daniel Poodle? Because I'm sure he was pretty good the second half of last season. And then it's like, we definitely gave him a new contract. I'm sure he's still a Sheffield Wednesday player. I've not seen or heard anything of him for like 6 months.
He's too busy with his new girlfriend, isn't he? They've moved house. They've got 12 kids. Like, just no stopping him.
And you don't just turn up and replace Morgan Fox in the team. That we ain't playing a back 5 anymore. There's none of this 3 centre-backs business. You have got to prove yourself against the most improved left-back in league football.
No,
so I'm not saying he's Roberto Carlos.
We do need a centre-half for Saturday, though, don't we?
Well, yeah. So probably if Brucey's got his head screwed on, he's probably giving him a ring, isn't he? You can't predict this game, though, can you? It's the Carlos derby. How can you predict a derby match like this? Form goes out the window when it's the Carlos derby. Who knows what's going to happen?
Do you know, it's such a shame that this game's not on Sky. Because they don't need any other pundits, do they? In fact, they don't need a presenter. It could just be the Carlos show.
Just Carlos.
Yeah.
Just mic up Carlos.
The pre-match build-up. Yeah, the pre-match build-up would begin about now on Sky Sports Carlos channel. And he'd just talk about it for like 4 days, running up to kick off on Saturday.
They probably offered him a certain amount of hours in his contract, and surely just in 2 hours would cover the whole game, and then he'll just be done. They can just finish his contract, sign him off, done. But he's got to be do some overtime.
It's a 3 p.m. kickoff, so 9 a.m. they go live. Carlos puts all the meat on the fire at 9.
Mm-hmm.
By 3, it's ready. It's ready to eat, and then we kick off. That'll do. I would watch 6 hours of Carlos putting all the meat on the fire.
At 12 o'clock, there's a slight interlude where Carlos just beats the shit out of a £20 note for half an hour.
Yeah,
that's good. But that's
and at
Sky
2:30 he goes to the post office to get new currency.
It's a great idea.
None of that would have happened. Great. So I'm double sad now. Rubbish. Right. Look, are we going to predict it? Have we got any idea? Look, Swansea are 13. They're basically the exact same team as us.
Yep.
We're at home. Do we beat Swansea?
It was of when we went into this run of games, And we've had, obviously the 2-0 draws that we've had. Rotherham, we did win at Ipswich. It was the one that you looked at and said, on paper, probably the hardest game before we then get to the Sheffield United match, which kicks off a run of quite difficult fixtures. So Swansea was probably the hardest out of these games coming up. Therefore, it's pretty nailed on that we'll win about 6-1 or something ridiculous. It's the Wednesday way, isn't it? It's just the way that it happens.
Yeah.
Who knows? Hot on the heels of that, then. So a game that should have taken place a couple of weeks back, but was postponed due to FA Cup involvement. So the Brentford game is on Tuesday. I don't know if either of you particularly followed the fortunes of Brentford this season, but they've had a real mixed season whereby they started the season really well and it looked like there might be a contender for the first bit of the season. Around the time, you remember the dizzy heights when we were actually in the top 6 when we won away at Bristol City, and a good season was actually looking a distinct possibility. At the same sort of time, Brentford were doing all right. Dean Smith left, went to Aston Villa. They brought in a new manager who I can't remember his name. They lost like loads of games on the trot. It was all going wrong, and now it's all going right again. And then they've sort of balanced things out a little now. But another real tough game. But guys, 2 home games in the space of like 3 days or whatever. How many points are you wanting to take from those 2 games, Vic?
Well, 6 obs. It feels weird, doesn't it? Because it feels like so long since we had a home game. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I've just not been. I'm excited.
What was it? What was the last? Oh, it was Reading, wasn't it? I wasn't there.
Yeah,
so Reading. It's ages for me.
Yeah, it really does feel like ages, and I think sometimes you get into a bit of a routine with football. As we all know, but there's points where you'll have like 4 home games in the space of like 2 weeks, and it just becomes second nature. And like the people that you see at the football, like you see them like 4 times in 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden you don't see them for 3 weeks, and it's just such a weird situation. I think I find it quite difficult because it's the one time that I see my mum and dad. Because they live like an hour away from me, so they travel over to Hillsborough. Obviously, I live in Hillsborough, I can see the North Stand, but they travel over to me. So for me, like it feels like double the amount of time without a win. Without a game and without a win. But yeah, it's I'd take 4 points. I really would, but I would hope that by now Steve Bruce has sort of moved his little magnets around on his board and he's figured out what he's going to do. And I would hope that we could possibly try for 6, possibly try for 4. 3 would be great. But there's just no way of calling it at the moment, is there? I mean, someone posted on Owl's Talk today, like, are we actually mathematically safe if you look at the league right now? And, possibly, yeah. But anything can happen. And that is why, we talk about it a lot on this podcast. And I think a lot of people who don't follow the Championship wouldn't understand. But it is such an exciting league because anything can happen. Like literally anything. But yeah, I think we're going to get 4 out of them.
I wouldn't be unhappy with 4, to be honest. Eddie, would you take 4?
I'd take 4. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I don't think I've got a downer on this team at the moment. I feel like we don't have an identity at the moment. I can honestly see 2 really depressing, like a 0-0 and a 1-1 coming out of this. I think we're in this we're in quite a dangerous position at the moment where, like we're not mathematically safe, but it feels like we are because there's so many terrible teams down there. But we went away to Rotherham, who are 3rd bottom.
We could be awful.
Escaped with a point. Look, we need at least 9 points to be safe by conventional logic. You got to get to 50 points in this league, don't you? Honestly, I'm not worried about relegation. Let's not even get into that discussion. That isn't happening right now. But I don't see the spark of inspiration that sees us suddenly vault up to the top of the chasing pack. I think the playoffs are probably out of reach at this point. But you look at those teams, you've Forest, Birmingham, Villa, that are kind of up and about it, but can't quite bridge that gap. For us to even get into that group, we've got to win the next 2 games. And I don't see any evidence that we are going to be anything other than hard to beat. I don't see us being able to beat teams, to go out there, dominate teams and be confident of a victory. We might squeak one, but if I was a betting man, I would be putting my money on 2 draws.
There is a lot of logic in what you've just said, because there's no doubt about the fact that the Steve Bruce era we're in this for the long haul, and there's probably an element of things getting worse before they get better, and that's not like it's going to get worse over like a couple of games. Like, we've probably got 6 to 9 months of hardship that we've got to get through before we'll see any degree of seriously kind of turning things around. So I can't disagree with what you said, but I'm going to go with Vic on this. I'm going to say let's 4 points I reckon we can get from these 2 games. Right, okay, that's going to pretty much bring us to an end. Vic, I know you've got any other business for tonight.
I just realised, don't forget. Yes, I do. So on Saturday, when we play Swansea at home, there is a special edition of War of the Monster Trucks that will be available. Every penny of profit made from... Do you know what? Shut up. Right?
I think it's brilliant. Right, Vic, can you explain? There are going to be people listening to this podcast who have no idea what War of the Monster Trucks is and what it represents to.
Right, I'm not being funny. I like a younger man. If you do not understand what War of the Monster Trucks means, we can't be together. I'm sorry, no, absolutely not. So anyway, there is a special edition of War of the Monster Trucks fanzine available on Saturday, and every penny of profit goes to Macmillan Cancer Care, or whatever they're called, Macmillan. So I have written a piece in this. People who've listened to this for the last few years will have known that obviously I've had a pretty shitty time with my own cancer, then my dad's cancer, and then, we've just thrown all the drama at the fan and just let it hit us all in the face. So I have written a piece about my amazing daddy, and that will be on sale on Saturday. So please buy it, because even if you think it's awful, and just to point out now, I've had an email apologising that they have put a grammatical error in the second paragraph that wasn't my grammatical error. So yeah, that wasn't me. I am also available for copywriting. But if you see it, please buy it, because every penny will go towards supporting somebody like me or you, or, I used Macmillan when I was poorly. My dad used Macmillan when he was poorly, and it will make a huge difference. So hats off to the guys who've made the fanzine this time again. They do it out of the goodness of their hearts. They're just really nice blokes. And please buy it, because it's a really nice story. And it is a new one as well. James has read it because he proofread it for me. I think Edgy might have proofread it for me as well. But it isn't something that I've just regurgitated a million times. So please buy it. It's from the heart. And I'm sure there'll be a million other stories in there as well that are brilliant. Oh, and if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at Victoria1867.
Okay, cool. I don't remember proofreading that for you at all, but if you're saying that I did, I must have done.
I'm sure you did. It was about two months ago.
Oh, all right, cool. Yeah, cool. Can I just echo that? I think the work that it's Paul and Steve, isn't it? The guys that do War of the Monster Trucks, and they did the All Wednesday edition, and this is the most retro thing in the world, isn't it? Bringing back actual printed physical fanzines that smell like fanzines. It's magical. So a massive well done to the guys for doing another new edition, which is brilliant. Right, over to Eddie for your farewell.
It might be a final farewell. I've got a stag do in Benidorm this weekend. Honestly, I don't know what to expect, but it's probably not going to be good, is it? So I'm gonna try to watch the Wednesday game through massive beer goggles and try not to finger some nan. I am at Sausage Arms on Twitter, on Instagram, and on all your favourite social media platforms. And I look forward to speaking to you all next week.
Incidentally, what to expect in Benidorm, just public urination. Just lots of people just pissing wherever they want is my recollection of it.
I'm down with that.
From a few years back. You can get me on Twitter.
You've not seen my Pornhub history. So.
That's what you think.
Can we all go to Benidorm?
Oh, can you imagine that? Bloody hell.
That'd be amazing. I'd love that. James, we do such nice things on holiday. Imagine adding Dan, Eddie, and Fudge and Rich into the situation. Imagine how awful it'd be. Let's do it.
All right, yeah, cool. Count me in. You're doing the organising for this then.
Says Mr. I don't let go of the plane tickets in the airport. But just saying, that's fine. You do your sign off.
Right, you can get me on Twitter at James Marriott and at I look after the plane tickets. And the podcast is at TWWcast. And yeah, we will see you back here. Just incidentally, by the way, next edition, episode number 200. Small matter of that.
Thank you, Riverside Cafe on Catchbar Lane.
Absolutely. So I hope you enjoyed episode 199. We'll see you back here when we reach the... What do you call it when you're in your 20s? Is it called the something... The troublesome... The troublesome twos, is that a thing? I'm making shit up now.
Does that count as being our 20s? It's like basically it's our bicentennial. Well, this is when this happened in America, there was fireworks and all sorts. We should organise something at least.
Yeah, well, we're all to Benidorm, aren't we, to piss in public? That's what we're going to do.
There it is.
Can't wait.
Right,
Sticky
okay.
Dicky is retired.
We will see you. We got a Sticky Dicky though. We could do that, couldn't we? That could be a thing.
Rusty Barbara, she's still going strong.
I could see Rich Davis just firing ping pong balls out of his ass. That'd be
100%.
Coming soon to a Riverside Cafe near you. Sticky Dicky.
Oh God. Oh.
I don't think there's a way of ending the podcast other than just, we're just going to leave that image with you. We'll see you back here for episode 200.
Enjoy your time.
Keep up to date with the Wednesday Week on Twitter at TWWcast or on our website, thewednesdayweek.co.uk.
Sticky Dicky, brilliant.